Okay. Share screen, and boom. All right, for those of you that can see us online, here, Di. Mom wanted to make sure I knew Aaron was in nibbling. Thank you, Mom.
Leave me on mute. My kids are loud, she says.
We got you. So if those that can see my screen, you can see a picture of a bus and some people jumping on top of it. These are not my guests jumping on top of it tonight, but this bus is parked up along Antelope Drive here in on the Syracuse-Clearfield border. And I was driving up Antelope one day, and I thought, that's kind of a cool bus. Then I came home, and my 14-year-old son was watching a television show by his favorite YouTuber. That's what the kids call him these days. His favorite YouTuber is Sean Duras, who lives here close by. And through Sean, our guest tonight, partly through Sean, well, at least his parking lot. Yeah. They came to Utah anyways, but because of the connection, Sean's letting them park in their parking lot and hunker down for a few days. So we're lucky to have them join us. My son, we were driving down the road, and I just pulled into the parking lot, and I got out of the car, and Sam, embarrassed, looked at me like, what are you doing? And I said, come on, let's go see the Lost Bus. And so he reluctantly got out of the car, but when I walked up, our guest Shekinah jumped right up, opened the door, and that's just you can see the heart of gold they have to welcome even a goofy guy like me and his son. Say hi and look at the bus. So let me kill that screen for one moment so we can see most everybody back with us. And we will officially kick off our Rotary meeting tonight. So again, thank you all for joining us. Those that aren't familiar with Rotary, Rotary is considered the world's largest service organization with about 1.2 million members worldwide. It's a non-political, non-denominational organization, so Rotary can get into places in the world and do some service that I think a lot of governments and religions can't get into. And hopefully, Uncle Jim, you can nod your head if this is correct or not. Within the next couple of years, Rotary will be credited with helping eradicate polio from around the world. I believe in the this last year, there's only, I believe, 3 known cases of polio in 2 separate countries, and it has to be gone completely for 2 years for it to be considered eradicated. So we're working hard and diligently for that. The Bill Gates Foundation has pledged, I believe, about $40 million to help with that eradication of polio around the world. So besides these big projects, we do things locally, from giving dictionaries to 3rd graders to water wells and just all different types of service we can do. So to kick off our meeting tonight, before I get into just a brief moment of official club business, I'm going to unmute Brent Scott, our past president of the club. And Brent is going to kick us off with our opening thought / prayer, whichever Brent decides to give us tonight. So Brent, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. The context behind the message that I'm going to give, I'm sure everyone has thought about it, but to what extent? And that's kind of a rhetorical question, because it would the response would be up to every individual or any individual. Okay, to wit, if a person were to die and then return, what message might that person from the beyond send back or provide to you? I'm just going to let that hang for a second. Then my next point is, what message or question, and this goes beyond comprehension in our world, what question or message would you have for that person? Think about it. Back to you, Larry.
Thank you, Brent. And I think we all probably have specific people in mind in both cases, and thank you for allowing us to ponder that for a moment. Just in way of business, the district conference is coming up in a couple weeks in Park City. So Jana, I'm going to, I don't know if you're with us still. I'm not seeing you on there anymore. So if she is, she's muted. You'll have to unmute yourself, Jana, but I don't see you on there right now, your phone anyways. So if you joined us on the computer. Back to you. So yeah, if there's any additional information, we'll get Jana to give that to any of our Rotarians. But again, that's coming up in Park City, and there's great information on the web on that. Other than that, I have no other real official information other than just to let our members of our club know that we have our debit card in the mail. So as soon as that arrives next week in the club's name, we'll be able to switch the Zoom account over to in the club and the incoming president, Jana's name. So we'll be all squared away to go for the next year. Also to let you know, our speaker from a couple weeks ago, Patsy, who talked to us about helping the refugee family come from China, or actually starting in Iran, come through China to the U.S., to the Michigan area. I will be able to see her next week, and we'll be providing a donation in the club's name to her. And just to let you know that her her goddaughter had her baby, so she has the grandbaby now, and the baby's healthy and well, and they're super excited to meet us. And Patsy said she's real interested in looking at joining our club. So some information for our club members there. All right, with that introduction, or that bit of business out of the way, I want to introduce you to our guest tonight. Now, I teased you a little bit with that colorful bus, and when we pulled over and finally got to meet these two young people, I became instantly jealous of them. Those in my family that know me, being spontaneous and traveling are two of the favorite things I have, plus serving others, so they kind of fit the bill. So I want to introduce to you on my far left, your right if you're looking at the screen, is Shekinah from the Houston, Texas area. Yep. Right? Welcome, Shekinah.
Thank you.
And in the middle here we have Brannon, also from the Houston, Texas area, right? And both of them coming from the great state of Texas, and on a voyage to serve and see the country. Two amazing things. And so when we got talking with them and got to know them a little bit, their message plays right in exactly with who Rotarians are and what we strive to do as Rotarians around the world. So I'm going to have this is going to be an informal question format. So I'm going to open it up and have both of them introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about the Lost Bus, what it is and how it got started, and how they ended up on the bus. And then we'll open up to questions, and we've got a few questions of our own. We've actually just come from dinner with them, so we've heard their stories. They're good, so you'll like them as well. So let me turn the time over to you. Shekinah, I'm going to have you start. So tell us a little bit about yourself and where you hail from.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm from Houston. I grew up in a very tiny household, dancing most of my life. And I'm very passionate about everything that I'm doing right now. I love traveling. I love serving others. And so I'm having the time of my life at the moment. Great.
Can I just jump in? Brent, one of your messages touched me, because I know that Shekinah as well. She's part of the reason she's on this journey is a great man in her life. Her father passed away this last summer. It was super encouraging of her to do something like this. So thank you for your message. Say it touched us, but I think she's carrying a great spirit with her tonight.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I'm Brannon, and I'm 20 years old, and the reason I guess I came to the bus is I spent 15 years of my life as a cheerleader and a gymnast, thinking that all those years of work, that winning would make it all worth it. And so this past year in April, I won the national championship, and it didn't make anything worth it. And so I regretted all those 15 years that I put into the sport, and kind of reflected on what I was really passionate about. And going forward, didn't want to waste any more of my time. So I reflected and figured out that serving, traveling, and film and photography were my big passions. And so I had seen buses and vans be converted and lived in before. And so I decided to give it a go. And as I was telling all that to my sister one day, she said, "Oh, that sounds like the Lost Bus." And I was like, "What?" And so I went and looked them up, and the bus kind of found me.
Great. So how long have you both been, or each of you, how long have you each been on the bus now?
I've been on about 6 months.
Okay.
I've been on for about 2, maybe 3.
All right. So give us a little bit of background about the Lost Bus, how it originally got started.
So the original guys, Ben, Chad, and Derek are their names. They wanted to run a charter from the United States to Argentina. They completely realized how unrealistic that was, so they gave up on that dream and decided to come up with Lost, lending our services travel. So they bought a school bus on a miracle bid on eBay for $1,500, spent the next year renovating it, and then took it out for a year and a half. And it's been passed on to 3 other groups, including us, since then. The past 2 groups took it for summers, and they were just college internship credits. And then we're the second longest so far, going on 6 months out of a year.
Okay. And you probably been on a full year.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. Wow. Great dedication. It's interesting. I do have a friend who's riding his motorcycle from as far north in Canada as he can, all the way down to Argentina. So it can be done, but maybe on a motorcycle.
There you go.
So anyways, so as you started this journey and got on the bus, what have been some of your big surprises along the way?
Ooh, that's tough. I was shocked. So we saved up about $1,300, and that was all the money we had, all the money I had left from my job and from donations along the way. And we set sail with that little money, and it is little when you think about an entire year. Nobody can survive on $1,000 for a whole year. So I was completely blown away. I didn't expect to last longer than 2-3 months, but the people of America have taken such good care of us and helped us out along the way. And that was so shocking to me.
Wow. So that's a great living example of leap and the net will appear, right? Just going out and taking a risk. That's amazing. So what about you? Any big surprises?
Same, just like the kindness that we received and the favor and the trust. That's probably my biggest thing, is like meeting people and like instantly like them like giving the keys to their house, or like, hey, just drive my car. And it's like, you don't even know me, you know? And so like just experiencing that and all over, you know, it's cool.
Okay. So tell us, where did you start in the bus?
I started in Holland, Michigan. That's where the bus is based out of. That's where we picked it up from. And we took it, we've been everywhere in between Holland, Michigan, and Florida, and now we're headed west.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I met them in Houston.
And you picked up in Houston. And now you've been in Utah for a couple weeks, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us just a little bit about what you've been able to do here in Utah. Any highlights for just those of us from Utah?
So we started working, we just kind of showed up at a Habitat for Humanity restore.
Wow.
Yeah, it's on the ship.
Nice.
And that is just like kind of a thrift store for building materials, basically. So we spent 2 weeks with that group, and they were incredible. They fed us, and they let us park behind the building and plug in. They got us passes to their rec center in town to shower at, and we just showed up. And they did all that on like the first day and the first hour. We hadn't even worked. They heard about the bus, saw what we were doing, loved it, and decided to help. And so we spent 2 weeks with them, and 90% of it was moving furniture. It was strenuous work, but they were such an incredible group of people.
Yeah.
Great. What about you? Any highlights in Utah? Okay.
That was my
That
highlight.
was it, too.
That was it.
Tell them that. Tell them
Yeah.
that.
You're right.
Well, fabulous. And feel free to ask any questions. You heard some of the stories tonight. Which ones might the group like?
I think the logistics of the bus are,
Okay.
how much it costs to pull it up, and
All right, so Diane's asked us to talk a little bit about the just the logistics of the bus. They're living on a bus. There's no bathroom on the bus. Works a little bit better for Brannon and Shekinah. There's there is a refrigerator, but it's more of a storage shed because it doesn't. They don't plug it in and run it because while in transit they can't keep it running. And so they have a cooler with ice. Any other particular quirks? What's the sleeping arrangement like?
So we have bunk beds. There are 3 of them, and then we have a table that just pops up, turns around, and drops down into a 4th bed.
Okay.
And then we have a cot, and we can hang hammocks on our roof. We have a deck on the roof, so we can sleep up to 8 and be comfortable on a warm night. But normally 4 people max inside the bus. That's comfortable. We get about 8 miles to the gallon. It's a diesel engine. It's a 1996 school bus, and the inside's been completely renovated. We have a water tank with a sink. We have a stove, microwave, coffee pot, like everything you can think of. All the amenities besides a bathroom and a shower, and the laundry machine.
And the washer dryer.
Yeah, everything else is on the bus. We can live comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
Fabulous. So as they've been doing this, as you heard them, when they start out with $1,300, they've basically been traveling the country on the goodness of others. So it's interesting to me because one of my favorite quotes by Dale Carnegie says, "Life truly is a boomerang. You give, you get." And here they are out doing service, giving, but they're also receiving as well. So tell us a couple of the highlights from the trip so far, and tell us about a sketchy moment down in Florida. Everything happens in Florida. So tell us a little bit about a couple of the other highlights from the trip so far. Shekinah, you want to start out?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll start out with Galveston, which is the first week I spent on the bus. We did lots of working with children, and then we did like gardening stuff, and then some touchscreen walls. And so it's just really cool how you get to experience these different learning experiences. Like you're not just classroom learning, like you're real world learning. And you never know what that's going to be until you're there. And so that's like all over, like you get that in each place that we go. So.
Okay.
I think one of my biggest highlights, this goes towards the hospitality of the American people. I had someone take us up in a small airplane, and we got to fly around the Appalachian Mountains, and it was incredible. And that was just from working on his ranch. She was like, "Hey, I'm a pilot. I have this plane. Let me take you up in the air." So we accepted. But for service-wise, one of my best experiences so far is we helped a hoarder in Ohio shift his entire collection from one of his warehouses to another. And this man at one point was a successful businessman. He owned like 5 or 6 resale stores, antique stores. And so he bought those buildings and used them as his offices under the premise that he would repair them, repair the damages done. When the mayor of the town found out that he wasn't holding up to his promise, he demoed all of his buildings, stuff inside, didn't let him get anything from them, and footed him the $250,000 demo bill. And that completely destroyed this man. He went off the grid and started paying for cash for some of his warehouses and started to collect things again. And he had some of his most prized possessions and all that. But he was getting evicted from one of his warehouses. And so we got to help him move into another warehouse. And his stuff was piled to the ceiling, and just these tiny little aisleways, and probably about 1.5 to 2 feet wide that you had to kind of turn sideways and shimmy through. But my favorite thing about him was that he knew the story behind each one of his objects, who he got it from, how old he was when he got it, how much he paid for it, how much it's worth now, could tell you anything on any of his items, and could locate it from any part of his warehouse. And it was a big warehouse. It was huge.
And it's got to be fascinating to just get out and meet people like that. By the way, when they're talking about the bus, I wish we had footage of this, but the cruise control on the bus is pretty ingenious. Who did that?
That was the original guys, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So the cruise control has gone out completely. It's not electronic anymore. So they screwed an eyebolt behind the pedal, tied a string to the pedal, looped it through the eyebolt, and then they pull it, and hook it on a little, I guess, a little screw that's coming out of the bus. And that keeps the pedal pulled down to the floor.
Yeah.
And we only go about 55 miles max, so we're not going super fast.
And tell us a little bit about the passenger seat.
It's a swing.
Okay, so she says the passenger seat's a swing, and when we say swing, just picture a rope with a 2x4 tied at the bottom. That is the passenger seat. So yeah, that's it, right? So it kind of moves with the flow. And airbags? Any airbags?
No airbags.
Okay, so all right. Well, tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna unmute everyone. So we're probably gonna hear some noise. I might unmute a few of you right away. So if you need to mute yourself, you know there's noise in the background. Check a couple there. So does anybody have any questions? Who has the first question? Yes, and Diane.
Hi, sweetie.
Hello.
Do they need any donations?
I'm gonna let them answer this.
This is probably the first time on this trip where we've been this low. And we kind of just barreled through it and said, it's gonna come, and we just keep doing what we're doing. Donations are always appreciated. However, we haven't had to ask for money a single time. So if you feel led, then by all means, lostbus.com, there's a little donation for free. Anything helps, no matter how small, no matter how long. $5 is a huge blessing. and it's, some people don't get that, but when you have no source of income whatsoever, anything. Yeah, anything to do.
And I think that route might bring them through Nevada, so we'll you can park in your driveway too, can't they?
Hey.
All right, but the short answer that he was dancing around is yes, they could use some help along the way, because it not only helps them travel and provide service. You know, they sounds like they're pretty judicious with the way they use the funds. So.
Are there just the two of them?
Go ahead.
It is. It's just the two of us, and I have a dog. Her name's Hermione. We have a third person coming to join us in 2 weeks. He'll be flying out here to come be a member on the bus.
There will be 3.
Yep, there will be 3 in 2 weeks. And his name?
Brian.
Brian.
Or are they traveling north or south right now when they're there?
North right now. We're headed up into Canada, into Alberta, and we're kind of figuring our way there. And we'll go west towards Vancouver, and then down the west coast. And then we're going to kind of route back around and go northeast, back up to Michigan. And Michigan will be our ending point.
So you send them safely through Sardine Canyon.
Absolutely. They're coming through Logan, actually, as part of their route. So they'll be coming that way in a couple weeks. So, yep, Grandma fixed dinner for you, and she knows everybody, because they're headed to Idaho, so she'll be there whenever she knows.
We would like to know when, because we could have them for dinner.
There you go. So you got a dinner invite right now.
There you go.
We'll keep you posted, Mom. I'll get the schedule, and we'll make sure that they know when and fix this dinner. We might even drive up for that too.
I was going to say, maybe we could make it a family affair, huh?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So, any other questions?
How do your parents react to what you're doing?
Good question. So my dad is very structured, I guess. He thinks that I need to go to school, I need to start a family, I need to get a job, and that will keep my life. I can play when I'm old. My mom, who married right out of high school and started a family immediately and never got the chance to do anything like this, she's in full support. And my dad is not, but my mom loves it.
Yeah, so I was originally supposed to come on the bus from the beginning. I was supposed to be on the bus for the past 6 months instead of 2. And when I first got the invitation to hop on, my dad had just been re-diagnosed with cancer, and he wanted me to go so bad, and he was so supportive. He wanted to go himself, but I just couldn't leave home at the time with him the way he was. And he ended up passing away, and that happened. And then when the guys came back through Houston and re-invited me, I knew I had his support, even though he's not here. And I had my mom's support as well. So my parents are both happy that I'm on the bus. I know I have both of their encouragement. And so they're both behind me in doing this.
And I wonder how my mom felt, because they've inspired us. And there's only 3 bunk beds, so Isabel needs a place to stay. But it sounds like Diane, Sam, and I are putting in for next year's trip.
No comment.
Yeah.
What's Grandma Tenny saying? Nana?
I'm taking it all in.
I just say she'll be on the bus with you. I know that.
I'm worried about that swing. I think something better.
Yeah. All right. So any further questions? Isabel? Okay. So they told us a story tonight about a Florida incident. So we're going to have Brannon tell us a little bit about the Florida incident.
Yeah, so the question was, somebody asked if there were, if we ever feel unsafe. And I could only think of one time this entire trip. And we've done lots of work with homeless and had homeless people stay the night on the bus even, and had hitchhikers. So we're normally really open and accepting and comfortable with that. But while we were in Florida, there was a man outside the bus just kind of looking, and we were parked in a Walmart parking lot, and it was as cold as Florida gets. It was the dead of winter. It was like 30, 40, 50 degrees somewhere in there. And so we had decided to invite him to the bus to get him out of the cold, and we found out that he was actually waiting on a bus to be picked up to go to a shelter for the night. And so we decided, okay, you can stay on the bus, get out of the cold for a little bit, whatever. So as the conversation progressed, we kind of realized that he had been drinking, and it was just a roller coaster of emotions. And at one point, he, just to prove that he could make people give him whatever he wanted, he pulled out a knife and held it up to my neck. And so we very carefully de-escalated the situation, and I had 911 typed in my phone just in case. And then we kind of hurriedly got him off the bus and gave him some food and sent him on his way. But that was like really the only time that I had been scared this entire trip. Generally speaking, people have opened up to us and really taken care of us.
Okay.
Yep. So learning lots of life skills. They've learned how to drywall and mud and tape and move furniture and de-escalate situations with knife-wielding homeless people.
Can they mow lawn and stuff?
We can mow lawn and stuff. I was good at that before I came on the bus.
Yep. So we'll find opportunities. So from here, they are headed north. Tell us about more or less what's your route, what's the major things you're going to see in that time.
So we're going to head in the general direction north. We don't really have a huge route planned out. We have some connections in Logan, some connections in Idaho Falls, and then we're going to have to go into Yellowstone and Grand Teton. How do you say it? We're going to have to go there, and then we'll keep going north. I have a friend that lives in Whitefish, Montana, which is right in Glacier National Park. Yep. They've offered to host us, so we'll make a couple stops through Montana, and then we'll go to Calgary, make a few stops on that route as well, and then into Banff and Jasper parks, and then all Canadian national parks are free this year, by the way. So go to Canada if you want a chance to see some beauty. And then we're going to head west even further to Vancouver, and then down the west coast from there. So Seattle, and then all the way to probably Los Angeles before we start to head back.
And eventually end up back in Michigan, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it's quite a journey, and that's just the plan today. These two are pretty spontaneous, so the wind might blow them in a different direction along the way. You never know. So hopefully there'll be people to take care of them. So we've got time for one or two more questions if anybody has anything. Oh, let me unmute Nana. Nana, go ahead.
How do you come across the projects to do or the services you do?
Good question. A lot of it is word of mouth, but the short answer is Google. We've been able to find many, many connections and many projects through Google. We just find fun things to do and then shoot all those like parks or museums or exhibits or whatever they are, emails, seeing if they can use help. We've got several gigs at botanical gardens and farms and parks like that before. That's worked out well for us. But then once we get plugged in at a spot, we normally don't travel more than like 3 or 4 ways at a time. So a lot of people have connections in those areas, and so they'll kind of pass us on by word of mouth.
And what's the longest you've stayed in an area? Is there...
Yeah, about 2 weeks is the longest we stay in a certain location. I think Salt Lake is going to push that back a little bit. We'll probably be here for 3
Just
weeks.
because we have a friend flying in, and so we have to wait for him to get here.
Yeah, the flight's basically double in price if you go any further north.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so as soon as he joins them, they'll be hitting the road. So, well, thank you for everybody for joining us. Unless there's any further questions, we'll let these two off the hook tonight. Again, if you do want to find more information, jump on www. You don't need that anymore these days, so I don't like say it. Just go to lostbus.com. There's some videos on there that kind of give the story of the Lost Bus. There's some pictures. They have, it says Crew 4 right at the top. It gives you bios of both Shekinah and Brannon. You can get on Facebook. Go to, is it Lost Bus?
the Lost Bus.
The Lost Bus. And there's some pictures in there. You'll probably see some of Brannon's photography. They were down in Havasu, was it Havasu Reservoir? I can't remember.
Havasu Falls.
Havasu Falls. Yeah, so down in Havasu Falls, and there's some beautiful pictures on there from their time there. You can follow them along that way, or if you're an Instagrammer, you can jump on that as well at the Lost Bus. So if any of you have any questions or want to donate in any way, please either jump on the lostbus.com donate button, mark friend or family, because then they don't get charged fees, and fees don't get taken out of that. Or if you'd like to contact me in any way, we will, and you can get it to me, I can get it to them directly, so we can cut out a middleman. So I'd be happy to help you all do that. So we really appreciate everybody joining us tonight. In fact, Di, you have me an envelope. And in fact, just as a small token of our appreciation tonight, on behalf of the Utah Rotary E-Club, we have a small donation there. I'm gonna just spill the beans on what it is. It's a gift card to Winco, because they're heading north and there's Winco grocery stores all along the way. So I put a map in there of some of the Winco locations throughout on the trip there. So that's a small donation to help them at least have some breakfast or something to eat.
Fill up the ice in the cooler.
Yeah, I'll send you home with a bag of ice tonight. I got one out here in the freezer. So we'll take care of them for tonight, and hopefully they'll sleep well on what they've eaten tonight. So as a closing, as we do as Rotarians, we'd like to remind everybody of what's called the Rotary four-way test. And this is the kind of underlying philosophy we live behind. Janet, you're lighting up. Oh, that was Brent lighting up, so you have something to say, Brent. Any final comments from Brent or Janet?
Great meeting, great sacrifice to those folks.
Yeah, thanks. It was fun to hear about what you guys do.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
What an awesome adventure. I wish I was 20 years old again. Not single. I'd go with Diane, but a little more carefree. So, okay, my mom will debate that. She thinks I'm pretty carefree right now. So, as I was explaining, the Rotary four-way test gives us some guidelines as we interact with our fellow humans here on this mortal coil. and it goes like this. Before we test the things we think, say, or do, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And many Rotarians like to throw a fifth one in there, is it fun? And on that note, I think the message I'm taking away from here tonight is leap and the net will appear. Whatever's holding you back from doing whatever you want to do, or chasing that dream, or just going for that trip, or whatever it is, or most importantly, finding somebody you can serve and help, whatever's held you back from that, stop. Just go do it, and the resources will appear. So thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. We appreciate it, and we'll
Thank you.
want to join us in the future every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. We're typically online. We don't have a list of speakers yet. We're working on some upcoming speakers as well, but we'll continue to post those out so people can join us. If you're interested in Rotary and not a Rotarian, this club's perfect because you can sit right where you're at, or you can log on later and watch the video and still count it as being there for your Rotary meeting. And we do service and help all over the world, and we can do it where you're at as well. So if you do have interest in that, please feel free to get in touch with me through our website or my personal email, or Mom, you know where I live. So everybody have a great night. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
guys.
Have a great week.
Thank you.
Take care.
Right.
Good night.